Hi, welcome to Iconoclasting. And today we have Christine Beurmann. Hi,
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to talk with you. So, Christine and I used to work together like 100 years ago, it feels like.
Yes,
Yep. And you have a wonderful husband slash partner.
me too.
And yep. And so you used to run your own podcast with him. So you're
Yep,
very
we
used to
did.
this.
And I
Yeah.
was the one who was failing at that, and he is the one who still like talks about we need to start doing podcasting again.
I get it. It's hard. It's hard to get like a backlog going and get people and, stay on top of it, especially when you're doing it for the funsies.
Exactly.
So yeah, well, I'm so glad you're here. You are somebody I go to for all of my product operations questions.
Great.
So, yes, so tell me more about yourself. Tell me more about what you do, and then we'll get into more of like the interview stuff.
Awesome. Yep. So the last 5 years, product ops is still very new in the market and the need. I think the skills have always been there. It's just been evolving. But the last couple of years, I've been in product operations and really helping product teams evolve the way that they get product out. And constantly thinking about how can we do that better, how can we make sure that the inputs to our roadmap are exactly what we need in terms of the market analysis, the data that they use to figure out which features we should be putting out, and then making sure that we're talking to our customers in the middle of that. And is this actually what you wanted? And making sure all that data is really wrapped up and available for product to make good decisions.
Well, that's so cool. And so I first heard about product operations from Melissa Perry's Escaping the Build Trap.
Yes. And
Okay.
then she has another book that is
Yeah.
just product ops. And then Marty Kagan also has a book, and I always forget which one it is because all of his have like just one word. But he
That's
does
fair.
have a book, and I'm sure Sarah will be awesome and link it for us. But there is another book that he has, and those are really what I consider like the two Bibles of product ops. Um, Hot take, I like Melissa Perry's better. It has
I don't know how that's a hot take because I love Melissa Perry.
okay, yeah, she's
Yeah.
amazing. But I know everyone really loves Marty Kagan. I love Marty Kagan also, but I
Yeah.
like her book because I reference it back a lot because there's a ton of example reports in it that
Hmm.
and like a lot of really good ideas of ways to improve that are almost like step by step. Here's an
Yeah.
example of what this looks like, and then here's what this report could look like, and here's how this could improve your organization. And so I refer back to that book a lot. I love it.
Yeah. I talk about escaping the build trap a lot in general when I'm doing any kind of transformational change, when I'm working with delivery, especially as it relates to my Evolve framework, which is the E. The first E is related to execution and delivery. And so she's got some incredible nuggets in there. I have
Agreed.
not read her Prodops book. Marty's is called Transform, by the
There we
way.
go. Transform. I, it,
Yeah.
I, I should have known better that
Yeah.
it was actually called that.
I just looked it up. Yeah, so makes sense. But yeah, it is always like one word, but they're very cool.
Yes.
So how did you get into product ops and what was your journey into that?
So, and this is how Sarah and I met, Agile coaching. And I feel like the skill sets are very similar. With ops, it's slightly different in what you're doing, but you are still working on the organization. But I was Agile coach and led Agile transformations for 5 years, I think, before I started in operations and worked with really large businesses, worked on some really, really cool, fun healthcare initiatives, and worked on a large scale digital transformation at a large jewelry company. So some really, really cool businesses allowed me to gain a lot of the skills that I needed for product operations.
Oh, a large scale jewelry. I love that.
Yeah, that was super fun.
Yeah, I bet it was. I have a friend who she does like estates. What is it called? She's a gemologist and she's one of like maybe 12 in Georgia.
Oh, amazing.
Crazy cool. Yeah. And so she
Yes.
has like a very small, jewelry operation. So that's fascinating about the large scale. So when you're like agile transformation, I know it intimately, right? And I think a lot of what that is operations. It's melded with project management, program management. Your skill sets are so varied when you do any kind of transformation work. And so a lot of it is like, where do you want to go? Because you also have to know product and product management and product coaching to some degree. You have to know what agile is. You have to know what theory of constraints are. And so you're very well suited to go into, especially at the level you and I are working, I've worked at, which is like Fortune 500, Fortune 10. And so it's like you're working in these industries. And what skill sets do you think have been really helpful in adapting that to your ProdOps journey?
That's a really good question. I think that you're going to laugh. Negotiation skills.
Yes.
And being able to talk to anyone from C level to developer to senior level project program manager and be able to talk on their level, understand their problems, and then be able to say, okay, here's where we need to go. And you and I need to kind of negotiate and work out like what that's actually going to look like in real execution. Because there is still, even in operations, there's a lot of still transformative work that you're doing in there's an operating model or there's a program that needs to get rolled out or we need to improve the way that we're doing our roadmaps. One of the last things I was doing at the company that I was just at was working with their customer service specialists to understand, first of all, the competitors, and then two, what do our competitors offer? And so being
Yes.
able to have that like wide range of I understand just enough to get the job done and then be able to like negotiate with the people that you're working with on what is this program actually going to look like when it's rolled out. So I think just to sum up all of the squirrels that I just went on there, um, the negotiation skills and being able to like talk to lots of people, but then
Yeah.
also understanding just enough about all of the roles within the organization so that you're you're understanding kind of where people are coming from and you're not missing anything as you're rolling out because in product operations in agile transformations you're doing these large scale kind of generalized projects. They're really high,
Mhm.
right? And you want to make sure you're not missing anything because there could be a developer in the middle of that that once it's rolled out going this is not going to work, and if you didn't do your due diligence and understanding really like everything that is going to play into that, it can halt a project or a program or whatever it is
Yeah.
that you're working on. So being able to talk to people and understand kind of where they're coming from and then relating it back to whatever it is that you're working on is really important.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of what you hit on there is being able to have curiosity and adapt it and speak their language. And so you're kind of doing like this value translation in real time where it's like, what are they working on? And also, how are you and them, how are you all relating it back to what's the overall goal of what you're trying to do?
Yep. And then
Yeah.
even greater, especially when you're talking to C level, how does this relate to our company strategy? How does this relate to our company vision? And being able to tie all of those things back. I know, like, during goal setting, once a year,
Yeah.
we have to do that, but it's really still important throughout the year to keep those things in mind and make sure that we're really talking about that thing when we're talking to like C-level people also.
Yeah.
This is why this program is important. This is why we need to roll this out.
Yeah, and you had a post about that today, which was really insightful about like how are we actually communicating this? How are we creating clarity? And it's not just a one and done. And executives, listen up. Y'all forget that not everybody knows what you do.
Yeah.
And so you have to communicate it, communicate it, communicate it. And one of the books I always reference for this is Patrick Lencioni's The Advantage. It's
Yes.
so good for that. I mentioned that I was a Patrick Lencioni stan, and your husband laughed at me, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fair. No, I mean nobody should refer to them that way.
That's
It's
fair.
really weird."
That's fair.
Yeah, like I can't help it. But yeah,
He
so
laughs at my nerddom all the time, so don't take it personally.
right, my husband laughed too. He was like, "Why do we have duplicates of books here by Patrick Lencioni?" And I was like, "It was an accident because now I couldn't find them, and now we have our library organized. So
Now we
now
have
we
lots of them.
I know, and you're welcome. So that just means I can give some away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I loved your post about clarity. And
Thank
so
you.
what are you doing now? Are you looking for like your next adventure, or
I am.
what's your next roadmap? What's your next
Yep.
stop on your roadmap?
Yep. I'm currently in the market looking for the next business that needs a little bit of organization, a little bit of help. Sarah and I, we both kind of do a lot of similar things in making sure that strategy gets translated to something that everyone who does execution can understand. And then
Yeah.
helping tie that back to the why. And this
The why
is
is so
this is
important.
where we have built our careers and why we still are in contact a lot. And it's always good to have other people to bounce ideas off of when it comes to that stuff. And speaking of which, I referenced in that post Scott Selhorst, who is another
Hmm.
person who is amazing to go to just for lots of ideas. And that's what the
Yeah.
post was about the problem statement. I
Yeah.
love templates. They are my favorite. They are a good starting point for everything, especially for writer's block. You're kind of like, I don't know where to go with this. Having a good template just to start off
Hmm.
is something I love to provide, and I have a ton of them
Yeah.
just to kind of start the conversation.
Oh, that would be amazing. Maybe we can link one of your templates in our show notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Melissa Perry, one of the things I loved about her, this is turning into like just a Melissa Perry appreciation podcast here, which is
Yeah,
that's
to make sure we
sponsor
tag
me.
her.
Yeah, I know. And so one of the things that I really like that she says is fall in love with a problem. And most people, especially when they're just talking, they'll start with a solution. It's like, do you understand the problem well enough to know
Yep,
what to do with it?
yep.
Yeah.
And actually,
So,
just wrote another post. It's will
yeah.
be out next week about making sure that you understand just enough of the problem, but you don't stall too long in getting started. Because getting something out
Yeah.
there and getting feedback and making sure that you're not taking too long in the discovery process is so important.
Oh, and that can take forever. Yeah, that can definitely take for well, did we think about this? I've run portfolio teams before where it's like we have representatives from all parts of the organization, especially in product and in marketing. We have them in architecture, we have them in engineering, quality assurance, and it's like, well, did we get it from this angle? What about this angle? And at some point, you do have to go. You can't,
Yeah,
you
you
can't
just
just be in there.
you have to do it. So preview to the post,
Mhm.
I was talking about Luke Homan's innovation games. And
Okay.
there's a game in there that I love to play with senior leaders called Buy a Feature,
Hmm.
especially when you've got a lot of voices. And what it talks about is every feature has a price, every
Yeah.
leader has some dollars, and everyone has to put their dollars on the features. And usually what ends up happening is the features that everyone wants to have are too expensive. So people
Mhm.
have to bond together and put their money together to get the expensive feature, right? Which creates collaboration around the roadmap,
Mhm.
and conversation. So, and that's what I was talking about. Like, it can take a long time to have those conversations, and something like buy a feature game, you can get to something in an hour or two, and
Yeah.
in just helping them really make those decisions. So that's what that post was about, but also another template, another game, another
Yeah.
tool to help you make decisions. And I love those little things. And sometimes it turns into, we didn't actually need that. It was boom, boom, boom. Everyone knew what we needed to do.
Yeah.
But other times there's a ton of conversation. It's 2, 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Around what needs to happen.
Well, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever been in a conversation with senior leaders where everybody was like, boom, 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 and knew what was happening.
No.
There's so much, what is the word? There's so much competition for their time and energy that just getting them like understanding what is happening right now and get off
Yeah.
your phones and your laptops,
Yeah.
that's huge. Yeah.
And like, so everyone has an opinion, right?
Hmm. Or they should. They better.
That's true.
Hmm.
And then getting them, and really, this isn't just senior leaders, this is like most meetings I sit in day to
Yeah.
day, is getting everyone to give a little, and maybe one person's going to take a little bit more this time, right? So that we can
Hmm.
collaborate and come up with a decision. Or we understand that this one person has all the decision rights here. Here's all of
Hmm.
our opinions. You go make that decision, right? And understanding what environment we're in. Are we in a this person's going to make the decision and we're all just giving our feedback? Or are we in a we need to make a collaborative decision? And so stating those kinds of things, again, more templates, more
Hmm.
conversations, but like stating those things up front when you get into a meeting, here's kind of the rules of the game, even though it's just a meeting, right?
Yeah. So answer me this too, because this just popped in my head. How is okay, so product ops is fairly new. How are you finding AI is shaping or reshaping it or disrupting it, even if it is like only within 5 years old, right?
That is awesome. I think in general, AI is just like disrupting all of our lives
Yes.
in
Yeah.
good and bad ways, right? There's always
Hmm.
positives and negatives. So the last company that I was at, I was giving a quarterly product owner training just to keep upskilling our product
Hmm.
owners. And I was teaching them how to write user stories, how to write
Hmm.
epics using internal AI.
Yeah.
And this is where the templates come into play, right? So we had a co-pilot that had our templates, our Epic template and our user story template, and they could
Yep.
feed their information in there with the product documentation and
Hmm.
have it work with them to create the new features or whatever. And then also KPIs to track, is this feature or whatever it is that we're releasing successful? And
Hmm.
that was still very new to all of them in that they can use that. Like, we're used to at this point helping it, having AI help us write emails, maybe giving it a little bit too much detail about our personal life because we're mad
True.
about something, right? Like,
True.
I think people are used to like ChatGPT and using it that way, but there
Hmm.
are ways safely within the company bounds, because we do work for large companies and
Right.
there's a lot of restrictions around how you can use AI. But as long
Hmm.
as your company is allowing you to use AI, like creating those co-pilots so it knows here's the template that I need to be using, and
Hmm.
feeding it the information, not just taking what it spits out and putting it in your feature, using your brain
Yes.
because you're a very smart product person
Yeah.
and you know your product better than anyone, right? And helping it, having it help you write, maybe saving you a little bit of time, maybe ideating a little bit with you, right? And then going back to your team and saying, hey, I was working with Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever your AI model you're using.
Hmm.
And here's what I came up with. What do you guys think? What does this look like? Right. And so that
Yeah.
was really cool because it was just starting end of last year. They were like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, I didn't think about using AI this way.
Hmm.
And so that was really cool.
Yeah.
Like what are you seeing? I'm super curious. Like, what are
It's
you
so,
seeing? Yeah.
yeah. So one thing that I'm offering as part of my services is like an optional AI foundation assessment. So like how do we get you like, and it's just very low key of like train people on what you should be doing with AI, how to use it, ethical and responsible AI use. And then
Yeah.
also understand like what are some use cases for your particular organization. And so it might be that you're using a lot of people are using Microsoft Copilot. Um Not my favorite, but that's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of engineering organizations are using Claude or Cursor or whatever it is, right? And so one thing that I'm offering is like I will train your, for example, Claude instance to write in the user story that you want. And I'll also prompt, like I can build into the project like how do you prompt for like the three C's, like card, conversation, and confirmation,
Yep.
right? And how are
That's
you still
amazing.
having those, yeah, how are you still having those conversations so that, yeah, organizations like are not losing out on the benefits of agility. I
Yes.
think agile, like big A agile, is starting, we're starting to find that kind of like blend to a lot of things,
Yeah.
but the principles are still necessary.
They are still
So,
there. I was actually having a conversation with a recruiter this morning, and that was the conversation we were having is agile is just kind of part of everyone's job. You need to understand a little bit of it. It is not anyone's primary job anymore or role
yeah.
that they play.
Yeah. I can see agile, like big A agile being, bigger in governments or like, different stages like that where they take a little bit, like they take a little bit more time to come around to it all. Because they're huge and a lot of bureaucracy as we know, and it just takes a little bit longer to get things done typically.
Yeah. Bigger
But
ship.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of it is like Agile's table stakes. So yes, I know it. I love it. It's great, but we're so far beyond it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Especially a single role. I think that it's
Yeah.
just, everyone understands it. Everyone understands the goal of it. There's lots of benefits. Just
Hmm.
like waterfall, like it had
Yeah.
its point in time, and there are lots
Yeah.
of principles that came out of it that
Hmm.
were great and that we still use today. They've just evolved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the evolution and how are we aligning ourselves to it and how are we looking forward for it, for sure. So we've been talking for a little bit here. I'm going to pivot and ask what are your 1 to 3 things that you want people to know as they embark on maybe an unconventional nonlinear pathway like you and I have done?
When the door is opened for you, walk through it.
Hmm.
I have had so many opportunities that I just never thought I would have if I hadn't taken an opportunity right in front of me. And sometimes it was hard to see it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was, you're going to have this role and you're not going to get any extra money for it. And sometimes it looked like a pay decrease or a role decrease, right? But it was something ended up leaping me from that. And so if a door opens for you, and especially if it's from someone who is an advocate for you,
Hmm.
take it. That
Yeah.
has been one of the biggest things in my career. The other thing is progress is not linear.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if Sarah knows this about me, but I am like really big into lifting weights.
I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah, and I'm training for my first strong woman competition in May. It is a novice one, but I'm really excited about it. But if I hadn't been running, working out, Orange Theory, like all these other things, I feel like I never would have found lifting weights. And it's something that I absolutely adore now. And for a little bit of time, I felt like I took a step back in
Yeah.
my health and fitness journey because I wasn't running an insane amount of miles and I was trying to find the next thing because my knees are 45 years old and so it
Yeah.
felt like I took a step back. But what I've actually done is improved my health so much because I have so much more muscle mass now.
Yeah.
And and so at the time it felt like a step back, but it has actually been a huge propeller forward in
Yeah.
my health and fitness journey. And I feel like that has happened multiple times in my career also. Um, and number three is you can never communicate too much.
Yes.
Always communicate. And if it feels like you're over communicating, you probably still haven't communicated enough. And
I
that
say
goes
that too. Yeah.
That goes for all of us.
Yeah.
It was something that one of my leaders very early on was like hounding into our early team. Um,
Yeah.
we were software developers and quality analysts. And he's like, you guys need to start talking. You need to
Yes.
stop just on your computers and you guys need to start talking. I don't care if you're messaging each other, but you have to talk to each other because we are having obvious problems from you guys just not communicating. And our team did change. I've got one developer who was pivotal. He taught me um, test driven development,
Mm-hmm.
and we would sit next to each other for 30 minutes once a week, and he would tell me what he was coding. And as
Mm-hmm.
he was doing that, I'm telling him, here's the test I would write. And so we started improving our communication just by
Yeah.
doing that, right? And you can't communicate enough. People don't know what's in your brain and they
Yeah.
cannot read your mind. And they
No.
haven't been to all the meetings that you've been to all day. So you have to communicate.
Yeah, that's something I will shortcut a lot in my brain and forget to tell people, like, oh, this is what I was thinking. Or I'll just start talking, like, I'll start thinking in my head and I'll start talking out loud. And they're like, you missed about half of that. Go
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
My husband tells me that all the time. I think I got the last sentence of the paragraphs of your brain. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Especially if I'm like doing my like goblin hunched over the computer, like working on something, and then I pop up with something. And he's like,
Yeah.
nope, start over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, constant what is yeah, I'm always trying to work on my communication skills no matter what those are. I know that I
Yes.
can always improve.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Um, this has been so much fun.
It
Loved
has
having
been
you on. Yes. And yeah, where can we find more information about you? And I'll link everything in the show notes too.
amazing. Yep, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there. I'm trying to get better about being on LinkedIn and kind of writing
Yeah.
more product stuff. But also available for chats if you just want to message me. Would love to do more podcasts, interviews. It's fun.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And we will
Thank
catch
you
up
so
again
much. It was good to talk to
soon.
you.
You too. All right. Bye.
Bye.